Welcome to the Writing Channel with Nick Cole. I am Nick Cole. How do you read me? How are we doing this evening? I don't have my phone, so I don't know what's going on. But somebody will tell me if I'm doing good or bad in the chat. The Medusa is assembling herself to monitor things and see how stuff is going. 5x5 says Virgil Kane. That is most appreciated. I thank you so much. I thank everybody for being here tonight. It is just fun. I didn't get a chance to do this, I think, last week because things have been busy. If you subscribe to my CTRL ALT Revolt Substack, I kind of broke down all the book stuff I got going on. So I am under the gun right now because I've got 2 books getting ready to launch this fall. And it's very exciting. And today I had a big meeting with Hollywood, which was kind of fun. And it was about Forgotten Ruin. And it seems that Forgotten Ruin is going to get a chance to be shopped around Hollywood by experts. And I can maybe talk a little bit about that process because someday your book might be shopped around and you might want to know exactly what to expect and what not to expect. So Forgotten Ruin was published, I think. Forgotten Ruin, if you don't know, is a book series that Jason Ansbach and I wrote together. And it is about U.S. Army Rangers inside of a D&D or Lord of the Rings style universe. So that's, anybody doesn't know, you can actually go over to the Wargate website, and I would encourage you to do that right now, because part of the deal that we made is all of those books will be leaving Wargate very shortly. And they will be going to a new publisher who has the bandwidth and reach to take this into bookstores and to take it to Hollywood. So this is kind of your last chance to get the Wargate collectible books if you want to get those, or to get those books. They will probably come down for a while, and they may not actually be available. You can actually get the free audiobook and the free ebook over on the Wargate site. So if you are just listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what Wargate or Forgotten Ruin is, just let me know in the comments and I'll tell you. But Forgotten Ruin is basically a modern military science fiction fantasy story. Some people call it isekai. Some people call it gate. I know a lot of people started doing it after we started doing it. So Forgotten Ruin did really well. It has a grand total of 9 books in the first series. It has an additional book. It has 4 books in what is called the Sergeant Thor series. Sergeant Thor is one of those characters. And then this fall, we will begin releasing 3 more books that continue the story by actually doing a prequel, which is called The Delta Kings, referring to Delta operators having gone into this fantasy and mythical land. It has been really well received. And so it caught the notice of big corporations. And they came in and we had a long talk for about 2 months and arrived at this. And so mainly what I want to talk about is Hollywood and your book. And I know that, like, whenever anybody writes a book, they just think, gosh, if my book could get made by Hollywood, that would be really cool. Like Andy Weir. Andy Weir is somebody that I would call an acquaintance of mine. I don't know that we haven't been any closer than that. We've done 2 conventions together. We've had some email exchanges and some conversations. Andy Weir is kind of the gold standard for getting a Hollywood deal. He wrote a book called The Martian. He had a big fan base that kind of like was right there as he wrote it, followed him along. The book became a very big hit audiobook for a certain publisher, Podium. Then Amazon bought away, and then Matt Damon got the movie rights, and the rest is history. And Andy's a kind of a big deal. So you might be thinking, like, gosh, if I could just write a book and have what happened to Andy happen to me, then that would be great. That would solve all my problems. And it would solve all my problems in writing. I wouldn't have to market because the book is on Netflix, as a TV show or a movie or streaming or whatever. And I'm just going to say this. I have been at this business for a long time. but really as an indie writer, and then for a while a trade pub writer since 2011. I've had an agent since 2005. And then that agent got rid of me in 2013. So that was kind of funny. Maybe 2015. Whenever Trump got elected, the agent got rid of me the next day because I think he was very upset and he needed to lash out. And we'd probably just come to the end of our relationship because he really wasn't selling anything. I was actually going out and getting all the deals on my own. And so that relationship kind of needed to come to an end. So you write a book and you sell a lot of books. You sell a lot of books. And you think, why isn't Hollywood calling? Now, people claiming to be Hollywood might call you. And these people might have Hollywood connections. They may even work for Hollywood and stuff like that. And what they're looking to do is they're looking to get a hold of a property and then go around and shop it. They don't have a deal whatsoever generally. I have been through this like repeatedly. Leo, thank you for posting over at the chaosactual.com store. I don't have my phone. I don't know what's going on in the chat. So just let me know.
I have one question for you whenever you want.
Okay, ask me a question.
Adutet, or how do you say that? Does anyone know which ESP? I think he meant episode. Nick covers point of view. We don't know which episode, but I don't know if you have anything to say about point of view.
Doucette, I will try to talk about POV later. I forget which episode it is, but we can like, why don't you come on and you can, oh, you know what? I should get rid of the StreamYard banner because it's not relevant tonight. But we may put the StreamYard banner up later and we can ask questions and talk about it. But right now we're going to talk about how to deal with movie stuff in your book, because it's possible. A lot of books get made into movies. But there's a whole arcane process to it. And again, like I said, I've been doing this since 2011. 2005 is just looking for stuff. And you all hold, and I've been approached by dozens of people. I want to make a movie out of your book. I want to make a video game out of your book and everything like that. And it's so flattering and it's so exciting. It just, you don't even know who this person is. And they're coming in saying, I can do this. I can get this in front of producers. I can do these things, all this kind of stuff. 98% of the time, it's a person who doesn't really, they want to make something happen, but they're not necessarily in the Hollywood circle yet. They don't speak the language. They don't have the connections. So this year, twice, I've had 2 Hollywood conversations about properties. And in recent days, I've begun to ask when people try to acquire the rights. And in one situation, I sold a book project and they wanted the Hollywood rights in the contract. And I said, I normally don't sell these. Like, are you planning to do something with them? As in, do you have a guy? Do you have an office? Are you going to try to sell this, or are you just hoping this book is really big and then someone's going to call me up and want to do a movie deal and you get in on it because you have the rights? Like, I only sell the rights to somebody if they're going to do something with them. So in that case, they showed me their paperwork and their work and talked to me about that they actually have an arm of their company that is in Hollywood, that is a legitimate person with street cred, who know, like, a lot of people say, oh, I work on this show, or I'm this person, or I know this person. Like, you have to ask some questions like, what production companies do you know that you can go to? What studios can you go to with this deal? If it sounds too good to be true, a lot of the times it is too good to be true. But what you get a lot of people wanting to sell you something based on your efforts, and they're not bringing anything to the equation. They're hoping to get lucky. But what happens if you give them the rights or you sell them the rights? And a bigger studio comes along and, you can't do a deal with them because you did a deal with this guy. So that's just something you want to be careful about. And it basically just breaks down to, you have to realize that, it takes a lot to get Hollywood's attention. Collectively, I have about 222,000 5-star reviews. that book has sold a lot of books. Galaxy's Edge has sold even more books. That's when you start getting noticed. That's when you get those deals. You could write a book. It could get hot. Someone could be like, hey, I want to come in and do it. You know, ask them some vetting questions. Who are you? What do you have relationships with? Do you have any credits? Have you produced anything before? If they say no, big warning flag. If they say, okay, I've produced this and this, all you have to do is go over to IMDb and look up credits. You know, just ask them to see the work. Ask, again, big surprise. Hollywood's filled with a lot of shysters. So in this case with Forgotten Ruin, this is a big corporation. And we said, well, part of the deal, you know, for taking Forgotten Ruin in this direction is we want to know that you can take it to the next level, because you can sell a lot of books as an indie, but like the next level is when you can get something as a streaming show or a movie or whatever. Now you're gonna push it to that next level. So you have to have somebody that can do that, and that was part of the discussion that we were having with this new corporation. And they said, yeah, we've got this guy, and he's done it here, and he's done it there, and he's done it everywhere. And why don't we have a meeting with him? And then we sat down, and he's like, this is who I have relationships. This is the amount of business I've done. You know, I know what I'm doing. Here's what I want out of you so I can sell this. And that's what it becomes. You're not going to have a guy pull up in a limo and say, I'll give you $5 million for your book right now, or any amount of, and you know, like the classic story is The Witcher, who sold, you know, the video game rights for like $11,000. And then the video game went off and did millions and millions of dollars. They didn't cut him in on anything. You know what I mean? So like the deal is the deal. And when you're first starting out, you can get suckered. I mean, this business is filled with con artists. And in this respect, it can really be something. So what I'm trying to do here is give you just a few things to consider. You want to...
Oh, I got a couple questions for you.
Medusa has some questions for me. Leo, thank you so much for supporting the chat for coffee and tacos. Thank you, brother. We need that. That really helps.
Like you've got, Bubba wants to know, are you trying to keep creative control, or would that be given up? And also, in a related one, Kerrigan wants to know if there's a way to get a clause to make them not allow the director to rewrite it during the clause.
Kerrigan and Bubba have these great questions here. Are you trying to keep creative control, or will that be given up? Kerrigan asks, is there a way to have a clause to not allow the director? Yeah, all of that comes in the negotiations, but we're not to that yet. I have standards that I want met. I have people that I want on set to ensure that it's militarily accurate. Doc Spears would be one of those people. Another guy, Ranger Chris, if you read Forgotten Ruin, he's credited. Another guy would be Crow. We want all the guys to hold their weapons the right way and say the right things. So the thing that you just need to consider in all of this is, like, you need to make sure that this is somebody who's reputable and that you can do a deal with these people. And the way that you can do a deal with this, do they have access to the people who say yes or no? Not, will they hope to, or they have a friend, you know, all this kind of stuff. Like, you're better off just saying, okay, well, let's just wait. Because if your book is hot, Hollywood will find a way to get in touch with you, you know. But don't go looking and don't think that you can make it happen, because as it gets hot, you're going to get a lot of people like creeping around you, trying to get you into a bad deal. So just slow your roll. Now, what happens next? Let's say you do a deal, and it's hot here today. Let's say you do a deal and they've satisfied you with, like, yep, we have relationships with these studios. We have relationships with these production teams. What you're really looking for them to say is, if they say anything like, I can get this picture made, that's not going to happen. But if they can say something like, I will take it around to these development people. Now that's how it works. So a couple of times of the year, Hollywood kind of goes into this mode where it buys stuff. And there's times of the year when they don't work, like August and December, they don't work. And at all of these production houses and studios and production studios and things like that, there's someone there who's just listening to pitches all day. And it's usually someone near the top. And all they want to hear is what's called an elevator pitch. So that's what I got tasked with today in the meeting. They said, we need an elevator pitch. One paragraph to sell your product. That's the one shot you get. The reason it's called an elevator pitch, because writers used to pitch it to executives in the elevator on a three-story building. That was how Hollywood used to work. There weren't a lot of tall buildings. So you had to convince them to buy your product in pretty much about one paragraph or less. Sometimes 25 words. So every word's got to count in that pitch. And like, this is not a bad thing to start working on now when you're not even anywhere near Hollywood and your book isn't even written and you haven't even written one sentence. You can write the elevator pitch tonight for your book and you can refine it as you go and everything like that. But like, what is that elevator pitch going to do for you personally? It's going to give you a really good idea of what your project is and what you're aiming at. And I used to tell people, write your pitch first and then write the book. I don't now. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes it's enough just to get through the book, but I'll still stand by, like, if you write the pitch, and a lot of times when I'm dealing with third parties like corporations or audio producers or things like that, they want, like, I think I've written, like, this year alone, I've probably written 5 or 6 pitches. And that's before I wrote one book, one word. They, like, people now, like, I mean, I feel that I'm in a level where I don't generally have to write pitches. For about 4 or 5 years, I didn't have to write pitches at all. Like, people would just buy, I got a project and they'd tell us what it's about. And I'd be like, oh, it's just this. And, you know, where I was writing the Galaxy's Edge series, I didn't have, like, for a while, I didn't have to do pitches. And now, like, now that sort of those series are winding down and I'm doing new series, like, it was weird. Like, one place had me write 3 pitches. They accepted one pitch. We went through like 6 or 7 months of not even negotiations, but trying to get it approved. And this was kind of like as the economy was bad and everything post COVID. And in the end, they came back and they said, "Oh, we can't do it," and didn't even tell me a reason. And then I made a deal with them like 6 months later on a whole nother project. But what I've noticed recently is a lot of people want pitches. So it's not a bad idea to, as you write your book, to have a pitch that you're developing. So now back to, you've gotten a movie deal. You're now working, like, you know, you sold your book to somebody, and at that imprint, they have a guy who sells the properties to Hollywood. And he's going to come to you like they came to me today. And they said, we need a paragraph pitch. We need an elevator pitch for your book. Why? Well, we're gonna call everybody we know in Hollywood and tell them, hey, it's Rangers meets Lord of the Rings, or as Leo says here, Rangers fight D&D in the world with their Ranger weapons. That could be, one sentence: 75th Rangers fighting in Mordor. I basically said, hey, U.S. Army Rangers, I basically said, it's Black Hawk Down in Lord of the Rings. And they got it. That's how simple it needs to be. The paragraph pitch would tell them what's going to happen in the book, or what could happen in their movie or their TV show. So I gotta work on that this week, and I gotta work on it. It's not just I'm gonna get this out. Like, this is the thing that, like, there were some very major studios listed today. They're going to those studios with this. That meeting is, hey, Ron, I have this thing. All right, hit me. the guy reads the paragraph and the guy goes, yes or no. He may say, let me think about it. Probably not good. Best case scenario, he goes, I'll buy it. And it's like in Hollywood, it is that fast. The decision, no, you're done. Or the decision, yep, we got something. Once the yep, we got something happens, now we're going to get into negotiations and control and who gets what and who's going to be involved. And that's down the road. Excuse me. Yeah. But you are not getting anywhere in Hollywood until you write an elevator pitch. And this guy in an office whose job is just to take calls from people who he knows who are trying to sell him a project on behalf of somebody else. So that's where Forgotten Ruin is right now. It needs a pitch so good that guy hears it and goes, I have to have that. It has to be that good. And so if it's a paragraph, like this is a paragraph, this is 4 lines. It's generally about 25 words. Every word counts. It has to be that good. So I got to put a lot of work into this. This is not, some guy calling me up and like, I want to swing by your house in a limo. I got a $2 million contract and Sydney Sweeney wants to celebrate with champagne. It's none of that Hollywood bullshit. It's none of those fantasies. All you like to get to the next step after having a book that's gotten a lot of great reviews and sold a lot of great copies from 2 guys who've already done that with another series is the chance to go into the arena with 25 words and try to sell it to somebody. That's it. What were you going to say? And Leo, thank you so much for the 5 subscriptions. Thank you. So that, and then after that, we'll have the negotiations and all that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. But like, none of that matters right now. The only thing that matters is that you have that pitch and they buy it. Now, think if you wrote that pitch and the guy's going to buy it in Hollywood, what would that pitch be like if you had that on your book description on the back cover of your book in the bookstore, or you had that on the Amazon bookstore? Like if you can get somebody in Hollywood to buy a pitch that's so baller, then someone in the Amazon bookstore or someone in the bookstore looking at this, picking it up and reading it, or looking at the page on Amazon, like that's probably going to sell to them too. That's why this elevator pitch, most of my description, my book descriptions for all my books are nothing more than elevator pitches. And it's very simple. And it was funny because I was talking to the guy today. He's like, I don't want to hear anything about the world or people getting buried in that or in the weeds. And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, you've heard me on this channel. Don't do all that world building shit. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. You're just talking like boy meets girl. Girl is abducted by a bad guy. Boy pursues trail of vengeance to get her back. Twist. It's John Wick meets The Notebook. That's the pitch. It's not that hard, but it has to be that brutal. You're not here to show how clever you are. You're here to communicate the property. And if you can do that on your book page, it's very hard for writers to do, to get out of their ego of wanting to like share their entire, it's the Mogembian, dichotomy. And in the 5,000th year of Zul the Gozerian, a new hero arises as foretold in, the Komari scrolls and all that. Like someone's looking, and I've seen pitches like that. Someone's looking at that and they're like, this is a lot to get into. It's boy meets girl who gets stolen by villain. Trail of vengeance. It's John Wick meets The Notebook. That's what Hollywood's looking for. And that is what the reader is looking for. It has to be that simple. So every night I do these shows, you can go through all of them. And I'm getting ready as I get these projects finished to kind of tighten up these channels and break down these rants into separate videos where you can just watch this and we don't get into the rest of the show. But everything I'm telling you is the best practices that I follow from literally 21 years of doing this and having success. There are a lot of people who are trying to tell you how to publish who have zero success. I'm telling you what I do to publish, and I have success, thanks to God. I hope it helps you. Do whatever you want to do. What I found with most of you is that 9 times out of 10, you don't do what I ask you to do or suggest that you do. You go do your own thing. That's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you, but I'm just telling you, what I do. And in the case of getting a movie deal, vet first, find out that the person can actually do something. They will try to snow you and blow smoke. Trust but verify. Don't think that anybody's going to. Here's one last thing I'm going to say about the whole process. You're going to get your book published, and you're going to wish that someone would come in and +1 you. Someone would come in and boost you, power boost you. That's kind of how I fell for going to Trade Pub. I'm sitting there as an indie selling 15,000 copies a month. And then HarperCollins comes along and says, hey, we want to buy this book. And I'm like, oh, HarperCollins is a big corporation. They're going to make a lot of money and everything like that. And they're going to take over the marketing. I don't do anything. And I'm going to be in bookstores. It's going to be big. And I'm probably going to get a movie deal. They didn't do shit. They were incompetent. They almost ruined my career. The success I've had is just being an indie. Very rarely does anyone do anything on your behalf. 9 times out of 10, what they're trying to do is vampire you. They're trying to coast on your efforts. They're trying to get lucky on your efforts. So never think that someone is just going to come in and they just feel motivated to take you to the top. They're in it for something. And that's, sadly, that's just part of the publishing equation. So it's never more true in this. Like I've sat here for 11 years on Facebook, and I used to be in the writing community, I knew Howie, knew everybody, and it was not my thing. And I sat there and watched all these people bray about, getting a contract or whatever. I've seen people die. I knew one guy who had a contract with The Rock. And he would always tell everybody how he's in Hollywood now. He's going to get made. That book never got made, and that guy is dead. Like, you will die waiting for Hollywood to make your movie because most of it is bullshit. It takes a lot to get a movie made. And the first thing you want to do is get rid of the fakers who are just trying to get your property, because they see the book's getting reviews, so they're going to try to buy your rights and then sit on them and wait till, someone calls up and tries to get your book and get it made. And you're like, oh, well, I made a deal with these people. They have the right. And they're like, okay, we'll go make a deal with them. They're just hoping to get lucky, or they're like, oh, maybe I can get this project and I can shop it around Hollywood, which is a thing you could consider. But if they don't know anybody, they're just like there's some sound guy on some TV show, or some guy who knows, went to school with a person and stuff like that. Like, it's not going to happen. You need somebody whose job is to call Hollywood all day long and say, I have this project, I have this project, I have this project. Tell me about them. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. Yes, no, yes, absolutely no. 90% of the time it's no. So I say all that to say that there's a language and a tribe in Hollywood, and you're not getting in, and no one's getting in. They have their own tribe. They have their own language. They only listen to people in their tribe, and they only listen to their language. So if you want to get your book made into a movie, make deals with organizations that have that capability, that have an office set up to do that, that have people that get hired and get their paychecks to go do those things. That is how you'll get a movie deal for your book. It's one way. Yeah, you could get lucky. You could write Harry Potter. You could write The Martian. All of those kinds of things. It happens. But just because there are exceptions to the rule does not mean, generally you do not want to follow the exception to the rule as a course of action. You just want to. So I hope all that helped you. I don't know anything else. Does anybody have any questions tonight? And I'll put up I'll put up this link, and you can come in and talk to me, and you can ask me questions, or you can tell me a story, and we can talk. Let me put up this link. We can talk about everything. I'm squinting. My eyes are getting bad. Close that. Wait. Okay. Show. I think this is it. Okay. John T. Doe, you want to come in and talk? Let's come in and talk. BC Walker, you want to try the Japanese? Sure. I know some people who are doing big stuff with Korea right now, and they're telling me it's really. I got offered. That was another movie thing. Like about a year ago, they were telling me like, "Oh, we can get a couple of your books made in Korea," and the Hemsworths are involved. And I'm like, "Great, introduce me to him," and then nothing happened. So again, you just get a lot of bullshit artists. Nick could pull off glasses. I need glasses. I need to get glasses. But you know, it is what it is. Okay. So now we've got John T. Doe.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Perfect. Thanks for the breakdown on all the Hollywood stuff. It's really exciting on y'all's behalf. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, obviously, when Henry Cavill finally gets a hold of Forgotten Ruin, you know, he'll want to be the executive producer and star in it, I'm sure.
I feel like it would be you'd be a great fit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sergeant Thor, obviously, knocked his head.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I know probably 2-3 weeks ago, I popped on, said I was starting the editing process. I've gone through a few of the chapters, added a couple things here and there for and sorry for the background noise. I've got some kids.
It's all good. We love kids.
And so I don't know how if you'd be interested in doing like a quick live breakdown of editing or something like that. But I mean, I'm game for showing off a little bit. If you're interested, I don't know.
Sure. Let's go.
All right. Let me see. Can I share? Yeah, I can share screen. All right. Boom. All right. So can you see this?
Let me see. Can you grab my phone real quick, darling? Because I can only see me. I can only see the thing.
Okay.
But hold on. Let me see the channel real quick. Let's see. I don't think we've seen the shared screen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, I don't know. Well, there goes my plan.
Well, why don't you get to us?
Cool. Yeah. And yeah, my kids are fans of. I don't know if you can tell, but they're fans of Sound of Music. They will literally sit and watch the whole movie, start to finish.
Yeah. That's it. That's how it should be. And you know, like, don't sweat that. Like, everybody here has kids, and that's just part of being a writer. And you're doing it to be able to, you know, help them with the extra stuff in life. That's kind of like, you know, Stephen King talks about that in On Writing. It's like, I used to just write short stories just to pay for medication for the kids. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you say something and it pays off a bill. And, you know, and we do it. Like, the most noble thing you can do is take care of your family. So sweat it not. I love that they love Sound of Music. Give us your opinion.
Alrighty, so I've got a real short prologue. Walt actually helped me out with it a bit. And so I'll just do that real quick. Humanity has conquered the stars. Thousands of years ago, the Earth's greatest minds conceived a technology to bend space. Near instantaneous travel unlocked an age of exploration never before seen. After a universe-spanning conflict, this disparate batch of worlds formed the collective democracies. It contained 4 pillars: the administration, the judicator, the parliament, and the universal church. This creation unlocked the age of mankind spanned through the universe, and in those spaces where humanity found no habitable planets, they darkened the map. They called those sectors collectively the Dead Arm. Peace untold reigns across the universe. Under the guidance and wisdom of the collected democracies, war between the planets is unheard of. There's only one great question left to be answered. Is humanity alone among the stars? No alien civilizations have ever been discovered. The universe belongs to mankind and the abundance thereof, or so the universal church says. And that's
all right.
The prologue.
That's the prologue. And you know what? I found out how to share it. So
really?
it's on the screen now. Okay, so cool. that is a good prologue. You know, we wouldn't want that to be our first chapter, but we do, like you can see, like in Strange Company, I do the same thing. I give this like, okay, let's break it down. And I even feel like in a prologue, you can get as purple as you want to. If you go and look at the Strange Company books, each one has a prologue. And I really, here's where I'm like really trying to paint what you're getting into. What kind of science fiction setting is this? Is this hard sci-fi? Is it cyberpunk? Is it, you know, like, go back in and paint a little, like, what kind of ships we're seeing, what kind of planets, what kind of races. But you've got a great structure for immediately immersing us in what's going on in this universe. So now you can scroll up to chapter 1 a little bit.
Okay. And let's see if it.
Let's see what happens when we read chapter 1. You know, like, we're really going to get into the story now. So we have to be careful because we can't really info dump here, because we just info dump. So let's see what you got.
The whispers were short at first, light transmissions, ghosts on the comms. Could have been interference with the intergalactic communications relays. Between the time delay of a message due to the distance and the various planets and stars working their magic, it wasn't uncommon. That's why people didn't put too much stock into them when they cropped up. But something was different. Pete! Hey, Pete! Tomas yelled through the microphone in his helmet. The two were in the dark, local slang for doing a spacewalk. They had the envious job of trying to fix a satellite for the representatives of the universal government planet side, the admins, as they were called on Thursaic, their home planet, a dark green and blue orb below them. Thursaic was a habitable planet close to the dead arm of the Milky Way. It had been settled just over 300 years ago in the last great expansion of humanity in the universe. Supposedly, the settlers wept because there were no more habitable planets beyond Thursaic. The planet below, the floating satellite repair people, a complicated title hoisted upon them by the admins, had 3 large continents. Each continent had a dense city with space elevators reaching into the orbit. Virtually no lights were visible outside the cities. The busiest elevator was the nearest to Tomas and Pete, and was their initial launch point for the repair. It was linked to Donetsk, the capital of Thursaic, in the near-perfect climatic zone. The second was Himmel, near the southern pole, where loads of metals and rare elements were discovered. The last was Fiennes, about a quarter of the way up from the equator. It was surrounded mostly by mountains and forests. Crisscrossing the continents were substantial rail systems that enabled quick movements from each of these cities. Tomas and Pete were both fairly comfortable in this task. It was something they did fairly regularly after solar flares burned out the tech every other season. They'd get in their shuttle, dragging spares in an externally accessible shipping container. Then a quick hop and skip into space after docking with the satellite. All their tools were in the container, and since it wasn't pressurized for breathing, they didn't have to worry about expensive air cyclers. Just open the doors and hope the straps kept the gear down in the orbital transits. Then they'd float over to the targeted area for repairs. Some of the satellites were massive and held staff on board. Luckily, this was one of the smaller comm buoys near the planet. Its primary use by the collected democracies was for, quote, state-approved, end quote, news and public information. Exactly the kind that Tomas and Pete would add an extra piece to boost the numerous unapproved channels. That's actually what had gone wrong. The repair contract was approved for a 5-year cycle, and this was one of the first satellites they modified. They weren't exactly the most skilled at the time. The pair's company only got the contract because Tomas's sister was the approval bureaucrat secretary, and she may have deleted every other RFP besides the worst, and Tomas's, which brought them to today's repair. They sliced in the main line in such a way that it degraded in the 3 years since their original, quote, repair. It had started impacting the main channels badly. State-approved news was getting crossed at inopportune times with the longtime conspiracy channel Deep Battle. It almost brought a compliance officer into orbit to verify the satellite hadn't been hijacked. Almost. Tomas's sister pinged the pair. She waylaid the compliance officer, and they hustled for it to replace original repeater slots. He was now settling back into his office, pushing off the cold journey to space for another day. Still, it had been a close call, and the two spent the better part of the afternoon doing the cover work. Pete, do you hear that? Hum? Like a nursery rhyme my ma used to whisper me to sleep with. Tomas continued. Pete, elbow deep in a multi-billion credit satellite, gruffed back. Listen here, Tomas. I'm kind of busy, and these instruments are giving me enough feedback to make me shakier than a rat sipping cat. He pulled an arm out of the maintenance hatch. Give me that router. Tomas carefully handed it to the outstretched hand. Pete put it into the open hatch. If the sound could convey in space, an impact driver would be heard sending bolts in deep. That should do it. Now, Tomas, what was it you were talking about? Tomas tapped his wrist comm, then brought a hand to his ear. A universal movement in space told Pete to listen to what was sent. Pete gave a thumbs up and put his comm on the channel Tomas had synced with. Pete's face contorted a bit. He heard the whispering. All he picked up was like a sound, like a light wind spreading across the tops of grain fields around the nest, but twisted somehow. The fields were full of dead plants, hollow and empty. As soon as it had come across the comm, it faded out back to the normal blend of comm traffic. Tomas, do you think that was just because we're up here, close to the satellite? Maybe the EMF signals are just higher this close to it. Pete was clearly shaken. Of the two, he was more into conspiracy theory and underground true crime casts. This sound was like something out of his shows. He didn't like that he was experiencing it himself, in space, no less. Tomas slowly shook his head. I don't know, Pete. Let's log it and ask the admin when we get planet side. Our job's done. Pete turned back to the satellite and closed the hatch. Yeah, let's let the admin deal with it. Can't miss my show tonight, he thought. They drifted back to their tool container and strapped everything down. Twice. Couldn't hurt their luck. Okay.
What we have there is we have an opening chapter in which we're going to meet one important character. I'm guessing Tomas is not super important.
Honestly, so this is going to sound silly. Knowing what I know, having finished the book, this is basically all that you see of these two guys.
Okay.
And this is part of the thing. In the editing, I am actually probably going to bring back or have one of these guys show up again a couple more times, because it kind of turns into, anyways.
Okay. So what we've got is a great sequence of working in space. And that's why people read sci-fi. And it's refreshing because it's not, Captain Dwayne of the battleship Kaldar, relax, knowing that he can destroy anybody. You're like, you've got two technicians in space, and believe it or not, that's what most of us do, for jobs. And so science fictioning this a little is a great way. And you've done the work here. I would say one more pass to create something like the tactile feel of what's going on here. Like, like when we watch space scenes in movies, like you hear the rebreather, you hear the oxygen. Maybe one of these guys struggles with the fact that their, height is a problem. Like I want to feel like in this first chapter, the danger and the fear and the claustrophobia of being a high wire, lineman. I like put in a few of the things, like one of these guys is thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Electrocution, becoming untethered, like give me 3 things that make this dangerous and put it in there, because this creates a little tension. But again, this is, like it's okay to start a story with these guys because they're not really in it. But it might be better to start a story with a guy that's actually in it. But we're okay. We can work with this. Now, what is the most important thing that happens in that chapter?
The introduction of the whispers.
Yep, the signal, right?
Yeah.
He hears like a signal, right? Or what is that?
Yeah. So it's a signal that's coming through, and in the next chapter it gets picked up by another person. But yeah, that's the signal that it's actually it winds up turning into a how do you say in English? Kind of like a mind virus, a techno mind virus thing. But yeah, that's how it comes across at first. It's just a signal that.
How do you say in English? What's your native language?
English.
Okay. All right, good. I only hear that from other people. Okay. So cool. Consider this. Now is a great chance to use foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is like pro level writing. And it's really stupid and easy to do because guess what? You know what's going to happen. Now, when you initially write a book, you don't know anything that's going to happen. You have this idea of things that are going to happen, but as you write the book, things happen. And now when you get to the end of the book, you know everything that's going to happen. What I might suggest here is, and so when you use foreshadowing, like it really works on people. It ups the tension. They're like, oh, he just told me this book is going to get murdered, but she's still walking around getting coffee and doing her shopping. Who doesn't realize there's a killer behind her? Like it's that same thing in like a serial killer movie where you're like, hey, turn around, look, don't go in that closet. So, so the signal causes people to lose their marbles.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So what I might
in the
put,
short, so
I might put at the beginning of this chapter, it was on a routine repair project that Pete heard the voices that would destroy this world. So I'm not going to tell you verbatim what to say, but like before you let anybody get into this chapter, tell them exactly why this is the beginning of something bad. And now they'll read this chapter being like, is it now? Is it now? And I guess what I'm guessing is over the next few chapters, you kind of reveal that a bad thing is happening.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
The only
what happens.
Again, like you've done some really good like science fictional near space work. People love that stuff. I would up the in every. What do you do for a living?
I QC on inspection companies.
Okay. So like in every job, there's danger, right? Yeah. So I would just put in like I would just remind the audience like what these guys are doing is dangerous, and one of these guys is not all that cool with it. He only got the job because his sister got it for him, but all he's thinking about is getting electrocuted up here, or having a heart attack, or getting untethered, or having the satellite suddenly explode. Like, because that's just fun and it makes everybody kind of tense. But at the very beginning, they're like, wow, this writer told us that something's going to happen in this chapter that's kind of weird and supernatural, and it's going to screw everybody up. And that's going to, what that's going to do is it's going to make the reader lean in close. They're going to be like, oh, okay, you got my attention. I'm getting a little closer now. You know, right now when they're reading your prologue in your first chapter, they're still deciding whether to go on a date with you, especially if they're reading in Kindle Unlimited, because in Kindle Unlimited they can just go, "Oh, you didn't get me. I'll just move to the next book in my list." So what you want to do is like, "Hey, I know this seems like a routine repair thing, but some really bad shit is about to happen." You could even just write that. It works, but just let the reader know. Like, I know this seems ordinary. The killers, like, I know these two guys, like in Halloween, I know these two guys are working on the light pole, but then I want to show you the mask, the guy in the mask that's breathing through the bushes because he just escaped from the mental asylum. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that with foreshadowing. Like do you know the movie Halloween?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I'm definitely
it's a
familiar
great
with the
use of foreshadowing because, like, before Michael Myers starts murdering anybody, all we see are these POVs of him watching people through his mask and breathing heavy. We know that's off-putting. That's weird. You know, we don't know that he's a killer yet or a murder machine. So, like, that's what a little foreshadowing does here. It's like, oh, wait, this guy just told us something bad's going to happen. I need to detect now. What's the bad thing? Because readers love to play detective with your book. They're desperate to figure out your book before you reveal it to them. It's like a game. So throw them some breadcrumbs. But fantastic work, great dialogue, great grammar. It flows right through. Kudos to you for doing the characters. The only thing I'd be is like throwing a little foreshadowing at the beginning and just up the danger of the of what, you know, I would be scared to death doing that job. I don't like heights. So make me feel that tension.
Sounds like
anything else?
No. That's great feedback. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Outstanding work. And thank you for coming to share. That's awesome. Are you going to come back and share more?
I mean, I've got more right now, but it is getting late and I don't want to take up more of your time.
No, you're not taking up. I think Bubba wanted to come in and do something, but let's bring it back again next week or whenever you want and keep working it. But I would like to see it, like, if you don't have to make those changes, but if you do make those changes, I'd like to see what happens. Think about it for a day or two and then consider rewriting those. And let's just see what it does. Okay.
All right.
All right. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. All right. Anybody else want to come in?
You were saying Bubba.
Bubba, you said you had something on your werewolf story. Anybody else? Going? Questions? Gone? I think that was great. Bubba showed up. Yo, what's up, Bubba? Sprachen Sie ins is a mic.
Sorry, I'm using my crappy headset at the moment.
Oh, what do you got?
Well, I got the dealing with a little one who is hungry, tired, and also upset that we changed his binky. I got the outline done for the werewolf story.
Okay. Sweet. You want to read it to us?
Well, for at least one book of it.
Okay. Read us the outline.
Give me. Yeah. Yep. I'll just open it up. I'm on my Surface, so I don't think I can share the screen.
We don't judge. We don't judge.
All right.
My wife needs like this.
Bubba, are you there? Bubba, go bye-bye.
Americans serving in the British Army at the start of the war, trench warfare, German werewolves known as Boozerhund or Evil Hound. Timeline is roughly October, November 1915. And that's just some basic bullet points about it. I broke down basically each chapter I wanted to do, prologue to epilogue, I believe. Yep, with 23 chapters.
Okay. Read us the bullet points. Read us your book so we can steal it.
I know, exactly. Well, I mean,
On my
I'll sell
AI.
it to you. Prologue. Trenches on a clear full moon night on the Western Front. British lines changing night watch and hear Germans chanting in the distance. Machine gunner on watch scanning no man's land before he's pulled from the gunner's pit with the assistant gunner. When the assistant gunner comes back from taking a leak and looks for him before finding blood on the gun, AG is pulled over the wall, firing his pistol, alerting the rest of the line.
It's a good image.
Section officer finds the senior NCO, asks him what's happening before more gunfire, screams can be heard. Officer and senior NCO charge into the trench before getting ripped apart. Prologue ends with Private hiding in a dugout, watching a fellow soldier, his throat ripped out, and choking on his own blood as a dark evil howl is let out into the night.
That's a good chilling scene. Great work.
Chapter 1. Main character arrives in France with British. He is given both respect and ire for being an American serving in the British Army. His friend who joined up with him meets up with him on the dock. They explore the dock before meeting up with the battalion and getting on a train that takes them to Paris. Then they get on trucks that drops them off near the back line. They begin to hear artillery from both sides and see biplanes for the first time flying overhead. And now they see dead and wounded coming back from the line. An attempt into no man's land was made earlier that day and failed taking the trench, but repelled the counterattack. Chapter ends with them getting assembled to move out to the trench.
Okay. The story progresses. That's good.
I was trying to do this as progressively as possible, but I don't I think I might have gotten hung up on like too much detail in some areas, but I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter that outline. Everything you're going to use, an outline isn't anything anybody's going to see. Put in everything that you need to write the book and to keep the book moving forward. The book always has to be moving forward.
Okay.
Jay Canada says it's going to be a good read, and Jay Canada knows good literature. He likes Strange Company.
That's true. Arriving to trenches, they see how run down they are: mud, water, rats, and craters from Artie. They follow the trench and reach their section on the line where they are given an entrenching tool and a pickaxe to fix the line, where they can see Artie round landed in the trench and blew up the section of the line, scattering barbed wire, wood planks, and pieces of bodies that still remain. Main character looks down and sees his boot is on a hand with a watch still on the wrist. Sounds of puking and calls to get it to work go out. Jump to later that night. It's raining and they are sitting on the MG with a raincoat, and they try to talk before being told to shut up and watch the line.
That seems like the military, or at least the military I was in.
Somehow in the night, German probe assault happens. They open up the MG and help defend the line. Fight doesn't last long. It gives them their first taste of war. After the fight, they're rotated off the line, and they learn how living in the trenches is a nightmare. They take forever to find a spot that has some overhead cover and try to sleep.
Okay.
Days later, MC is told they will be on a probe on the enemy line that night. He gets nervous about it, but goes on the mission. The probe is successful into the trench, and they bring back one prisoner in the night. Arriving to the trench, MC is to take the POW to the intel tent at the rear. Along the way, the German keeps talking like he won't be prisoner long the following night. He will get his revenge on them. The MC brushes off this threat. Just, oh, you're shit talking. Got it. German turns around and inhales deeply before winking at him. Seeing the German's face, he catches a scar running along his chin to the corner of his eye with a jagged pattern.
Is that a bad guy?
Yeah, that's the German they captured.
Yeah, that's good. Is he like a bad guy? Is he a villain guy, or like?
He is one of the villains.
Good. Like, so like whenever you have like disfigurement and like especially like a name, the name is the nature. That's one thing you always want to work on in writing. The name should sound like a bad guy, but like great idea to have a wicked scar. Like that's symbolic that there's something wrong with this person, that they've been ruined, things like that.
Yeah, I figured with the fact that I didn't really have plans on him being around for much longer than the purposes I needed. I didn't see the point of giving him a name, but I figured a facial description was a good.
Yeah. I mean, a description is a name. It doesn't have to be, his name doesn't have to be Verkenpooper. But like it's, like the main thing is like when we introduce people, try to make it as clear to the reader as possible. Don't play these arch games that a lot of writers try to play now, like, constantly pulling the rug out under readers. Like try to get people to clap for the hero and boo the villain. Make it clear who is who. Don't, if it's muddy, people will get lost. I'm the big advocate of making the bad people very bad people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Continuing on, following night, a storm is raging overhead as lightning flashes. MC is off the wall, sitting under rain cover and trying to sleep. A leak in the cover keeps dripping water on him and drives him crazy, and he grabs his gear and relieves one of the guys on watch. In the rain, they can hear a heavy thud in the mud behind them. One of the others on watch turns and goes to check it out. MC hears what sounds like a growling in the night before something splashes in the water of the trench. MC checks it out and finds the head of the guy who went to check out what thudded. In the flash of lightning, he catches a dark shape standing on top of the trench behind him. MC shoots at the dark figure, missing or hitting. He doesn't know. Figure lets out a roar and leaps at him. MC moves out of the way. A chase in the mud-filled trench doesn't last long as MC is stuck in the mud before getting lifted out. He feels like he's been stabbed in the shoulder and neck before blacking out. 6, wakes up in the hospital back from the line. The smell of death runs through the halls as he finds out that he's finds out where he is and how long he's been out. A doctor explains this while smoking a pipe and leaves when he's done. The doc tells him how he was stabbed along his shoulder. Before leaving, the doc asks if the attacker had a dog with him. MC's not sure why. Not sure why he asks, says no. Then the doc makes this peculiar sound and walks out.
Okay.
Chapter 7, almost a month has passed, and they give MC the clear to return to the trenches. He arrives back to the trenches to find out they were about to do an offensive that day. Gathers his gear and makes his way to the staging area along the main line. He finds his friend from back home, welcomes him back. The sound of already thundering in the distance and the rounds land trying to clear the barbed wire along the German line. Once the shelling stops, it stays still. The whistles blow, and the officers and NCOs tell them to go over the top. Basically, with that one, I was trying to just kind of like touch on how during trench assaults, they would already beforehand, and they would be sitting there waiting forever in the silence, just being like, what is taking forever? Why aren't we going now?
Exactly.
And
this is the military. Hurry up and wait.
Well, and also it was like back then they were like, oh, we have to be synced on times. We have to go at this time. It's not, oh, artillery's done. Let's go. It was no, we will attack at 6 o'clock. And
yeah, that's especially depicted in Paths of Glory and also 1917. It's just it's a beautiful device to illustrate the utter horrors of war. It'll be interesting to see what you do with this book, who the real monster is. You know what I mean by when I say that?
Yeah, I haven't really thought that far ahead. I was just wanting to tell a cool story.
Well,
that was about it.
I agree, and don't let me ruin this for you.
Absolutely. No,
if you do something deft here.
Yeah.
Okay. So in zombie movies, have you ever seen the original Night of the Living Dead?
Kind of.
Yeah. The zombies are the monsters, right?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Is it zombies or is it the people who come in and kill the main character later on?
Very good. Very good. Or is it the assholes inside with you? Because that's, betrayal happens. They start turning on each other and stuff like that. The real sort of like deft move in monster stories is to show that the real monster is something else. The monster is the monster, but the real monster is something else. And in this kind of thing, like, what's the real monster of World War I? Like, this werewolf can kill what, 20, 30, 40 guys, 100 guys, 200 guys. Like, they would lose $110,000 in 3 days. Like, there are generations of French and Germans and England's that were just wiped off. Like, they don't have those generations anymore. It's been 100 years. Yeah.
There was a German offensive or something that happened, and I think they called it it was like Kinder something, but it was like the death of innocence or something like that.
Exactly.
Because it was like all these 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds were just dead from the offensive.
Exactly. And I think what you're doing here is really deft, and I don't think you realize you're doing it. But maybe you're just doing it because of the storytelling. But I think telling a monster story, but you keep touching back to the real monster is war.
And that might be it. It might be the fact that I've paid attention to World War I documentaries enough to where it's
shows.
I'm trying to make sure it's as accurate as possible, just like how you guys try to do it with Forgotten Ruin and Galaxy's Edge with like military aspects and that. This one I'm trying to look at it from a historical sense of like, no, this is the bullshit they went through.
Write that note down in writing this book, and just consider as you write this book, when you do go to write it, like, hey, the werewolf's bad or anything like that. But if I constantly keep reminding everybody through the whole book how sucky actual war is, and especially this war, which was, barbaric by orders of magnitude, and and you don't say anything, don't tell anybody that. But all the things that you're talking about, in the rain, in the trench, miserable, waiting here for, the whistle to blow and knowing that you're all going to get machine gunned down. Like, at the very end, if you can just have somebody come in and just, I don't even know how you're going to do it. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it because it's your book. But if you could just say something like, the guy realizes, like, yeah, that monster we killed was bad. But like 25,000 died this weekend.
Yeah. Pretty much chapter 8 is about them crossing no man's land and coming face to face with the MGs for the first time in his first assault. He's just watching the opening lines getting shredded by the MGs, and he can look over and he can see guys jumping into the craters, which were known as shell hole droppers by actual guys on the line. Basically, he drops down, gets cover, and starts shooting at the MG, doing his best. And gunner falls, AG disappears, don't know what's happening, and they push into the trench. 9 is CQB in the trench.
I sure hope there's a trench gun.
Not at this point of the war. Trench guns came with Americans. I don't think Brits have.
Oh, see, that's what you do when you get your research. I would have just been like, I want to write about a trench gun. And here you are. You're doing it accurate. Nice. Very good. Very good.
Because it was after the Americans showed up and they were doing trench raids themselves. They had the trench gun, and Germans were like, that's a war crime. And everyone's like, no, they're shooting them with bullets. It doesn't matter that it's buckshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to the next chapter, which is CQB with shovels, trench knives, bayonets, buttstocks, all that.
Nice.
Also, as they fight through the trench, MC finds the German they caught the night of the raid, his scar being the defining factor. The German looks at him with a look of concern before pulling out a knife that reflects the light in an odd way. The fight is hand-to-hand. The German gets the upper hand before getting bayoneted from the side by another soldier. He turns, spins the man's head around before pulling the blade out of his body. MC sees the German dropped his knife, sinks it into his chest. The German falls back and says something in a language not German and dies, which I touch on later on.
Okay.
MC sits back, catches breath, grabs his rifle, aiming at the sound of boots. Sees his friend come around the corner and drops his aim. His friend looks at the dead Brit and the German and asks if he's hurt. They get back to their feet, pull the knife from the German's chest before moving on. They finish sweeping the trenches and are pushed out of the trench as flamethrowers start firing at the Brits in the trench along with gunfire. They pull back out of the trench and start running through no man's land as the MGs open back up, shooting the retreating Brits. They make it back and set up defense as a counterattack that never set up for a defense on a counterattack that never comes. Hours later, they finally start their watch rotations and go back into routine. Chapter 11, sun starts to set, and MC is getting put on first watch of the night. He starts to feel sick, sweating. He runs to a dugout and pukes into a bucket. His groans and moans start to become louder and more pained. He drops to the trench and blacks out. He wakes up in a trench surrounded by dead Germans. He looks around and realizes he's not in his trench. His clothes are shredded. His boots are missing. The dead Brits from the day before are piled up near him, and he strips clothes that will fit him. He picks up a German rifle and makes his way back to his trench. He is held at gunpoint.
A skinwalker.
He is held at gunpoint as he is approaching from the German lines and is questioned why he's coming from there. His clothes are stained in blood from the dead, and his German rifle give them concern that he's a spy before an NCO sees him and sticks up for him. They take him back to his section and start questioning him on what happened. He tells them what he remembers, and a corporal comes up to him and starts asking him questions. These questions get specific and forces MC to remember his changing and his approach to the trench. The last thing he remembers was a German screaming Buserhund. The corporal goes pale and stumbles backwards away from him. Freaking out, he tries to shoot him. Men stop him and take him away. They are pulled back from the line for a week off. When they return to the rear, they are paid and do what soldiers do when they have money. MC and his friend follow the rest of their small group into the local state-regulated brothel, which were a thing. Building is packed with every man from the front. MC sees a sign in French and English says blue light officer, red light enlisted, which was also a thing. MC looks at the line to get in, and while in line, he begins to get a headache. He leaves the line and just walks around the town before finding a local pub. Going inside, his sense of smell is overwhelmed by the smell of beer, liquor, food, and the women who run the pub. One greets him in French, and he stumbles through trying to respond. The lady gives him a small, annoyed laugh before replying in accented English. Sorry, trying to scroll. He takes a seat at a small table in the corner and orders food and beer. The one that speaks English brings him a pitcher, sits down with him. They talk when the younger version of the woman comes out with a plate of food. The younger one is her sister. Their father is off fighting, and their mother died from a sickness. The other women are the wives of French soldiers. They talk for hours. Her pub doesn't see much clientele as they are just a pub with not much to offer in food, and none of the other women there are willing to prostitute themselves. As they talk, the corporal that tried to shoot him walks in, and the owner stands up, welcomes him in. He stares at MC and pulls up a chair at the table and just sits staring at him. The owner goes to grab more beer and a glass. Corporal looks at him like he wants to kill him before sticking out his hand and nods. MC takes it, but as he grips his hand, a burning starts in his palm. As he pulls back, seeing a red blister forming. A coin falls to the table, and the corporal begins to speak. And this chapter, the corporal basically breaks down how he's a gypsy. He knows what he is, which is a werewolf, and kind of gives him werewolf lore. And is just kind of like, I have no idea why you're on our side and why I'm not trying to kill you right now.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, this is where the phrase from before that the German said before he died is brought up, which is also inscribed on the blade, which says "Maledictus Luna interfector hominum," which is Latin for "cursed by the moon, killer of men."
All right,
I
this is rich.
I was trying to date it back to like, how far back could this go? How far could this have been? And I figured Latin would be a good one to go with for language. And being an American, he's not going to know what that is.
Especially if you understand the founding of Rome and the work that people have done fictionally to make werewolves a very large part of Rome.
Yes, and also I stated that his family, what is it? The corporal reveals he is a gypsy. His grandmother told him stories of boozerhoons that roamed the Black Forest in Eastern Europe. Next chapter, MC is horrified by the realization of what he is. He gets up and runs outside sick and pukes. Corporal follows him, hands him a beer, but MC waves it off. MC asks questions to the corporal, how to fix it, what will happen to him over time. Corporal answers him to the best of his abilities. MC goes back in, pays his tab, moves to leave when the owner stops him, asks if he wants to stay in her spare room. Basically, oh, she's interested in him. She tries to do something. He's like, no, I'm good. Because he's like, I don't know what I am right now. And next chapter, rest of the time off is filled with remedial labor of loading and unloading small trains to get back to the front lines. Filler chapter, MC getting stronger, and his friends and members of his section question him for the other night and the comment of his strength. Basically, it's just like his change is starting to show, and being able to move like 4 sandbags without struggling is kind of showing.
Okay.
They return to the line within the hour. German arty lights up the trench, lasting for hours. After the arty lets up, there's a phosgene gas attack. Shouts of gas are called. Defenders don their masks and stage their positions on the trench wall, watching and waiting for the Germans. Machine guns start firing, announcing the attack of the Germans. Mad Minute is ordered. Brits rapid fire short magazine Lee Enfield Mark IIIs. Making sure I get the gun in there. Germans return fire. Machine gunners open up on the trench. MC and section fight hard, but are forced to move as mortars land around the trench. Rifle grenades and stick grenades are sent into the trench with mortars and land all around them, moving along the trench wall. They reach a dugout and watch the entrance get destroyed as a mortar hits the top, caving the door in. Next chapter, German troops enter the trench, fighting hand-to-hand and shooting. Small group of Germans turn down their section of the trench and all but one is wearing their mask and fighting the Brits. MC watches the German without a mask and takes his off. Everyone around him is calling him crazy for taking it off, with the air being toxic. MC doesn't feel any different without the mask and starts being able to aim properly at the Germans shooting at them. The leader turns and calls out in English that he knows he's the one that destroyed their trench line the other week. MC pulls out his bayonet and silver knife dagger and attack him. MC and German officer fight hand to hand, silver weapons and bullets firing all around them. The German fights better. He's stronger. He's more advanced in his werewolf, as he's a werewolf from years before. Basically grew up with it. Probably. Okay. Sorry.
All good.
Wife came in and we're trying to divvy up responsibilities at the moment. MC, essentially, German gets the upper hand. MC is like, oh, I'm going to die. And then Gypsy Corporal shows up and starts shooting at the German officer. Turns out he had his gun loaded with silver bullets. And MC's like, were those for me? And the Gypsy just kind of brushes off his question.
Okay. Let's stop there because obviously you've got some stuff going on. But
And
First off,
pretty much that was the end, and it ends with him returning to the trench and seeing his best friend bayoneted and his shovel in the dude who bayoneted in his head. That's
okay.
it.
Well, we might need to work on that ending a little bit.
Well, I'm just kind of like
understand,
shorthanding it just because I didn't want to waste any
No.
time.
Hey, Bubba, this is great work. Like you've got a story that has, I can feel the pacing in the outline. You're obviously completely immersed. And so this is going to be accurate, and guys like us love, accurate military fiction from the past. So I think you've really got something here, and it's an interesting story. It feels like a movie. I think that's a good thing. Now you've got to execute and start writing. So let's see you do it. But great work. I like everything I heard. Everybody can chime in the chat, but I feel like just watching and observing the comments, people were sucked in by this. This is a book they would read. Jake wants to beta read from you, so you got to crank out some chapters, man.
Oh, I know. Also, there's like little details I'm gonna throw in there from like documentaries I've seen. And did you ever watch They Shall Not Grow Old?
I did not know.
Okay, so that was Peter Jackson, who basically did a 2-hour documentary, basically from recordings of the actual war, recolorized, redigitalized, made better to where they can actually see what's happening.
Okay.
And actual narration from the men who fought in the trenches.
Interesting.
And there was something that caught my attention that I was like, I'm going to throw that in there because that's funny, but also no one's going to pick up on it unless it's known. And that was, they had cigarettes in the trenches. They weren't great cigarettes. They kept saying that they were like made out of stable returns. But one of the brands was Three Witches that they ended up calling Three Bitches. And essentially at one point, one of the characters is like, hey, you got a spare bitch?
I think this will be a fun read for everybody. Great job. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bubba. Thank you, John T. Doe, for coming on. I love all the work that you guys are doing. I highly encourage you to keep working on these projects. Take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I am not the end-all, be-all authority. I am not a gatekeeper. I am here to encourage you and to inform you and to adjust you from my point of view. Take that with a grain of salt. This is your work. This is your fiction. This is your art. You will get your shot with it. And we will be back next week. Thank you so much.